Hello, and welcome to my channel, Reading Little Blue Books Out Loud. This is a little blue book. It happens to be Little Blue Book number 150, and it is titled Lost Civilizations, written by Charles J. Finger. This is part 6, final part of Lost Civilizations. I do believe we left off at the top of page 52. Oh, that's where we're starting. Nearly 9 tons each. Each of 2 remaining capitals is computed to weigh more than 20 tons each, and the flutings of the column would contain a man in their hollows as in a niche. The pediments were sculptured with the wars of the giants and the siege of Troy. Upon the entablature stood a row of Atlantes, each 25 feet high, and supporting an upper entablature at 110 feet above the floor. The nave of the temple was 18 feet higher and 2 feet broader than the nave of St. Paul's Cathedral, which is 450 feet in height. Then there was the Pharaohs of Alexandria, once considered as the 7th wonder of the world and built by order of Ptolemy Philadelphus. It was 480 feet in height. Several Arab historians mention the telescopic mirror of metal which was placed at the summit of the ancient pharaohs. In this mirror, vessels might be discerned at sea at a very great distance. El-Makrizi relates that the part of the pharaohs was thrown down by an earthquake in the year of the flight 177 AD, 793 to 794, that Anad Ibu Tulian surmounted it with a dome of wood, and that an inscription upon a plate of lead was found upon the northern side, buried in the earth, written in ancient Greek characters, each letter of which was a cubit in height and a span in breadth. This was perhaps the inscription placed by the original architect, and which, according to Strabo, was to this effect: Sostratus Cnidus, the son of Dexaphinus, to the protecting gods for the sake of the martyrs. It is also related by Essoyuri that the inhabitants of Alexandria likewise made use of the mirror above mentioned to burn the vessels of their enemies by directing it so as to focus the rays of the sun upon them. The so-called Golden House of Nero was another wonder of the ancient world, and how much of its glories, as told, really existed. Of how much is tradition, it is difficult to say, but according to the best records that we have, all fairly well authenticated, within its enclosure were spacious fields and groves, orchards and vineyards, artificial lakes, hills, and dense woods, after the manner of a solitude of wilderness. The palace itself consisted of magnificent buildings raised on the shores of the lake. The various wings were united by galleries, each a mile in length. The house or immediate dwelling of the emperor was decorated in a style of excessive gregariousness. It was roofed entirely with golden tiles, and with the same precious metal the marble sheathing of the walls was profusely decked, it being also embellished with ornaments of mother of pearl, in those times valued even more highly than gold, and with a profusion of precious stones. The ceilings and woodwork of the grand banqueting hall was constructed to resemble a firmament. It was contrived to have a rotary motion, so as to imitate the motion of the heavenly bodies. The vaulting ceilings of ivory opened and let fall on the guests a profusion of flowers, and golden pipes sprayed over them the most delicate perfumes. The vastness of the plan prevented the Golden House of Nero being finished during his lifetime. Vespasian drained the principal lakes of this fairy region, on which he built the Colosseum, and pulled down all that Nero had erected beyond the Palatine, reducing the imperial palace to the hill that once contained Rome. Domitian built up what his predecessor had pulled down and added to the palace the Adonis, or halls and gardens of Adonis, the splendid wonder of that age of magnificence. Septimus Severus made several additions to the south, especially the Septizonium, the site of which has been disputed, while in later days Pope Sixtus V carried off to St. Peter's the three orders of columns of which it is composed. Among the modern discoveries of the palace were a room full of Roman coins and a wall hung with a cloth of gold, and on another part of the Palatine a spacious hall covered with paintings. The fall of the palace of the Caesars was a true picture of plunder. In the 5th century the Goths pillaged it of all its golds, silver, ivory, etc. Its bronze fell to Genseric, and the Vandal is supposed to have freighted a ship with statues from the imperial palace. It was attacked and fortified, taken and retaken, but the Farnese popes and princes gave the finishing strokes to its desolation to enable them to erect their palaces and villas with its materials. This record would be incomplete without mention of the column of Trajan. It is one of the most perfect works of ancient art that time has spared, it being, with few exceptions, in a fine state of preservation. The spot which it occupies was originally cut out of a spur or offshot of the Quirinal hill down to the level of the rest of the Forum, and the height of the column is exactly the same as that portion of the hill which was removed, as stated in the Latin inscription on the pedestal. From this inscription we learn that the monument was erected by the Senate and people of Rome, not only to commemorate the victories of Trajan over the Dacians, but also as a memorial of the heights of the hill when it was necessary to cut away in order to make room for the noble structure which adorned the Forum. This height is 128 feet, exclusive of the bronze statue of St. Peter, 11 or 12 feet high, on its summit, which was placed there by Pope Sixtus V in the latter part of the 16th century, instead of the statue of bronze gilt which had formerly occupied the top, but which had long previously disappeared. The entire shaft of the column is composed of 23 blocks of Grecian marble, so curiously cemented as to seem as one. The base and the pedestal have 9 blocks, the capital 1 and the base of the status 1, making 34 blocks of marble in all. The ascent is by a winding staircase of 185 solid steps of Parian marble, lighted by loopholes. The column is admirable both for its proportions and for the design and execution of the bas reliefs and ornaments which completely cover it. The bas reliefs ascend in a spiral band so as not to destroy the line of shaft by their projection. The whole pillar is encased with sculptures representing the exploits of Trajan and his army, particularly his triumph over Dacia after 15 years of war. The sculptures represent pictorially the progress of Trajan's campaign and are full of details connected with the mode in which the Romans were wont to carry on war. While the representations of the armor and habits of the Romans in the field of battle are most valuable to the classical student, the campaign is depicted from its very opening. The first view at the bottom of the column shows the Roman soldiers shipping their stores. Others exhibit the army in the work of building camps, the emperor sacrificing for the favor of Jupiter and exhorting his cohorts, the Roman soldiers in conflict with the Dacians, with the various means then followed of defense and attack. The thorough manner in which the Romans appear to have built their stone camps, and the care with which they constructed roads to assist their warlike operations, are strikingly shown. The number of human figures, exclusive of other objects such as horses, arms, chariots, etc., represented on the shaft, is said to be nearly 3,000. The number 2,500 has, at all events, been ascertained by actual enumeration. Each of the figures is on an average 2 feet high. The pedestal is decorated with crowns of victory, garlands, and other insignia of triumph. On this pillar, says Gibbon, the veteran soldier contemplated the story of his own campaigns, and by an easy illusion of national vanity, the peaceful citizen associated himself to the honors of the triumph. The column was made by the Emperor Hadrian, a place of sculpture for the ashes of Trajan, which, according to a tradition immortalized by Byron, were supposed to have been contained in the head of a spear, or, according to another version, in a globe. The statue of Trajan, placed on the summit of the column, as it stood originally in the center of Trajan's Forum, surrounded by colonnades, must have been grand and picturesque. It was completed A.D. 114, 6 years after its commencement. Next chapter, the common spirit. But monuments perish or destroyed. Nations, like individuals, rise to flourish, then fade. Of some we have records, of others none. But whatever the race, and in whatever time, there have been the germs of a common humanity, of an ideal of human conduct, and these have not changed any more than the basic elements of arithmetic have changed. To certain counsels of perfection all men at all times have adhered, whether ancient Arab, Egyptian, Hindu, or Christian, hit upon a noble sentiment or lofty aspiration anywhere among any people, whether it be in the Zend Avesta of the Persian or the Koran of the Arab, and you will inevitably parallel it in the Bible or in the sacred book of Confucius. Look at the world as from a height, as with the eyes of a god, and you see wave upon wave of broken hopes and desolate efforts, dashing as were, one after another, in wild impulses upon some adamant cliff. You see recedings and advancings, the invaded and the invader, ceaseless changes, overgrown and monstrous overgrowths of warlike ambition and imperial pride, crushing out peaceful industry and free development. Ideals alone endured, worthy sentiments alone have persisted throughout, nor of them have any one people had a monopoly. I would impress that upon the reader, letting the extracts which follow tell their own tale. Precepts on the Golden Rule. The true rule in business is to guard and do by the things of others as they do by their own. Hindu. Do as you would be done by. Persian. One should seek for others the happiness one desires for oneself. Buddhist. What you would not wish done to yourself, do not unto others. Chinese. Let none treat his brother in a way he himself would dislike to be treated. Mohammedan. Do not that to a neighbor which you would take ill from him. Grecan. All things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. Christian. The pursuit of truth. As the body is purified by water, so is the soul purified by truth. Hindu. Be very scrupulous to observe the truth in all things. Persian. It is blessedness without measure to keep the thoughts fixed on the laws of reason. Buddhist. Learning what was given to promote good actions, not empty disputes. Mohammedan. Things being investigated, knowledge became complete. Chinese. Every man is liable to err, but it is only the part of a fool to preserve in error. Roman. Prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. Christian. On the subject of friendship. He is dear to me, who is free from enmity and merciful. He also is my beloved, of whom mankind are not afraid, and who is not afraid of mankind. Hindu. Contract no friendship with the hope to gain. Buddhist. I daily examine myself to see if, in intercourse with friends, I may have been not sincere. Chinese. A true friend holds himself in readiness to supply all the friend's wants, both of a private and public character. Greco. He who fears his friends knows not the meaning of the name. Roman. As therefore both give and to receive advice is the characteristic of true friendship, and that the one should perform his part with freedom, but not harshly, and the other should receive it patiently, and not with recrimination. So it should be considered that there is no greater bane to friendship than adulation, fawning, and flattery. Roman. A friend loveth at all times. Jewish. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. Christian. And the final subject, brotherhood. He loved his brethren. He was a brother to the great men, and a father to the humble ones. Egyptian. The narrow-minded ask, is this man a stranger, or is he of our tribe? But to those in whom love dwells, the whole world is but one family. Hindu. He who is indifferent to the welfare of others does not deserve to be called a man. Persian. One should seek for others the happiness he desires for himself. There is no higher duty than to work for the good of the whole world. Buddhist. The good man loves all men. He loves to speak with all. The mean man sows that he himself may reap, but the love of the perfect man extends to all men. Chinese. Be good to thy neighbor, whether he be of your own people or a stranger. Mohammedan. It is not the life to live for ourselves, but to help each other. Greco. We are members of one great body, and we must consider that we were born for the good of the whole. I will look on the whole world as my country, and on all men as my brothers. I am a man, and nothing that concerns human being is indifferent to me. Roman. Thou shalt not say, I will love the wise and hate the unwise. Thou shalt love all mankind. Jewish. Let us not love in word and in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Christian. And this is the end of book number 150 of the Little Blue Book series, entitled Lost Civilizations, written by Charles J. Finker.